There's a subsection of shoot-'em-up games that I call fever dream shoot-'em-ups, and this is where loads of weird and wonderful strange theming has taken place in a shoot-'em-up to try and make it stand out from the crowd, and as a result it looks absolutely off the wall. And this is what I would describe Whale Captain as. It was released earlier this year. It is weird because it takes place in the dream world, so therefore nothing needs to make sense, and quite frankly it doesn't. This game also gives a really bad first impression because as you go into the game, it drops you straight into a main menu to press start to go, and it explains absolutely nothing control-wise, and you can't find any of it within the game either. It's all on the Steam page, which is very odd. But if you can get past that initial, like, what the hell's going on, there's a decent shoot-'em-up in here. It's just really poorly packaged. The first thing I want to talk about with Whale Captain is its really interesting approach to level design and progression. There are 6 levels in this game that have 2 long phases for you to get through, and a random mini-game in the middle, and a boss at the end. But those 6 maps take place in any order that it decides. It's randomly generated each time around. And so depending on where it fits in the order depends on what type of enemies pop out and the progressive difficulty that those levels have. So it's well worth playing this game over and over again because you'll see different versions of the same levels repeating over and over, feeling quite different as you go through them. On top of that, this game then puts on visual filters on top of these levels too, making them interesting again. So one might look like a old school movie with sepia tones instead of vibrant colours. One might be much more cartoonish. One pixelates it all up so it looks like a retro old school game. And as you go through this, plus the randomised order of the level design and the levels themselves, each run does feel genuinely different. The game auto-shoots, which takes a little bit of getting used to, but as you manoeuvre through the game, you'll start to notice that the levels are full of 2D platformer clutter. Now, the description of the game says that this is a shoot-'em-up with platforming elements, and I think that's a total lie. What they've done is they've inserted loads of bits of 2D platformers into the level design that you then have to navigate around as you're flying your ship and avoid, on top of all of the bullets flying at you too, because you only have 3, maybe 4 hits and then it's game over. And so you have to be incredibly precise throughout this game, and it's where the difficulty in Whale Captain lies, because yeah, it's all fine shooting all of the different enemies as you go, and you'll clear things relatively quickly because you're quite powerful in this game, and things die relatively quickly. They do repeat back on the screen though, so if you don't kill things quite quickly, it will overwhelm you quite quickly in this game. But it's all about the dodging, and this is where I guess they're trying to say it's a bit platformy, because you're having to move through all of these different platforming blocks whilst also making sure that you don't then box yourself in so that other enemies' weapon fire can then catch you out on the fly. There's a few other things that Whale Captain just doesn't explain either. Because this game is taking place on a puppet stage and it's supposed to look quite cute and rustic and handmade, you've got various different pickups that are hanging by a string, kind of floating up and down, that you can actually pick up, like pizzas and like bagels and donuts and cake and things like that, that will make your character bigger, but therefore make all of your firepower bigger and stronger too. And it adds on an extra hit point, because if you then get hit whilst you're big, you'll shrink back to normal size. You can also shrink to smaller size too, which is quite cool in some of the pickups that are going on, but it doesn't explain that you can actually pick these things up, which is quite frustrating. The other mechanic it doesn't really explain is that as you kill various enemies, they leave behind residue energy, and you can pick that up and it becomes an extra fire that you can then fling back at your enemies, which can be quite helpful because it's in addition to your regular auto fire, which is quite nice. You can also go into a precision mode by holding down a certain button, and there are various different additional power-up special moves that you can unlock that are in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. There's loads of them, and some of them are more helpful than others, but One starts to pour on chili sauce down the screen so that then you're going faster than the enemies. Another one adds an octopus on that can then kind of turn incoming fire into returning bullets. There's one that's a massive giant death ray. There's loads. And the fun is in trying to find them all. And at the end of each level, you get the opportunity to take one and replace one of your existing 1, 2 or 3 that you've currently got in your arsenal to then kind of get the loadout that you want over the course of time. This game is difficult. One of the best options that it's got is that you can go into the menu, and again it doesn't really explain it, but you can slow down the game from full speed at 1.0 to half speed. And although the game initially feels quite sluggish and slow in that perspective, it helps you get used to exactly what it is that you're trying to accomplish during this game, because again, it explains diddly squat. When playing at half speed, I was able to get nearly towards the end of the game on my first go and then eventually get better and better over time. And then as I cranked up the difficulty, i.e. making the game faster, I did then find that positioning of enemy fire versus being boxed in with all of the platformers really came to the fore. And so positioning is key over really trying to shoot everything out of the sky very quickly, if that makes sense. Last couple of things I wanted to comment on is that at the halfway point in each level, there's a weird randomised minigame that's about trying to shoot something and get lots and lots of coins. 100 coins equals an extra life or an extra heart, but actually coins aren't really given out very much, so it's quite difficult to get an extra heart, and certainly almost impossible to get 2 in my personal opinion. And then the bosses themselves have a good variety of moves and multiple phases to them. I actually found the bosses to be very fair, but interesting and engaging at the same time. So yeah, that's Whale Captain. It's a fever dream. It does not explain itself well at all, but get used to it. Takes a little while. You'll have good fun. Written review over on highplanegames.com. Another weird treasure trove game out from the depths of Steam that I think is worthy of people's time. Take care. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane-network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.